towards Jerusalem, where our temple was and where our temple in Hamashiach, the Savior word of Yah, shall return. Abba Father, Yahweh, Elohim, the Al of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Covenant Father, Elohim and Yahshua, we come before you, Yah, on your hard day, your seventh day, and we hallow this day, we set it apart, Yah, and we gather according to your commandments, Yah, in your honor, to show you the sign that there is only one Elohim, there's only one mighty one most high, Yah, and it is you, Yah, and we worship you and no other. And we show you the sign that you are our Elohim and we are your people, Yah. And we thank you, Yah, in the midst of a captivity, of coming out of a 400-year captivity, that you allowed us a means and a desire to have peace one day out the week while we still struggle in Babylon, waiting on our time to leave, Yah. We humbly ask that you please, Yah, please forgive us of our sins and trespasses. Yah, understand that we are the end of a nation of people that were raised in Babylon, raised in this confusion, Yah, that were taught to lean on our own understanding, and we are just coming out. And no matter how much knowledge, wisdom, or understanding we believe that we just have a sliver of what the ancestors had when the commandments were given clearly. We are learning it from a confused Babylonian language, so please forgive us of our inaccuracies, our mistakes. We invite the chastening that you put forth in our lives, for we understand that you chasten sons, that you spare the rod, you spoil the rod, Yah. And you have not spared the rod, but you have chastened us in your tender love and mercy, and we thank you, Yah. We ask that you do not allow us to continue walking in our darkness, but show us the way so that we can willfully make that decision to walk towards you at the cost of the sacrifice of our own temple, Yah. We ask that you give us that spirit to know where to move, to know when to move left and right, Yah, to have a clear, narrow path ahead of us so that we can just evade the flesh and just depend on your spirit, your word, your truth, Yah. Yeah, all these things we pray not only for us, but all your children across the four corners of the earth that all gather to show you this sign on the seventh day to the best of their understanding. Yah, these things we thank and pray through your holy, humble, anointed Son, the Savior word of Yah, Yahshua HaMashiach. Through him we thank and pray. Amen.
Amen.
Every time I walk over there, this thing.
Short. You gotta sit the right way in the car.
All right, Shabbat Shalom. My name is YAH Yasharah. I'm with my brother Wesley Yasharah. Shabbat Shalom. And we are Savior Word of Yah. We have our Shabbat study What we've been doing before we get started into the class, we've been trying to do a little bit of beginner messages, new things that is old to us, but maybe information that newer people may not be privy to, so that, no matter where you are in your studies, you can leave with something that you can put into action, that you'll have an understanding of. I know we get a little bit deep. We've been doing these classes for several years, so we can get a little bit deep. So one thing we want to go over, one of the common questions people ask as we come into the word, like, well, what are you? You a Muslim? You a Christian? Well, we're Israelites. And what is an Israelite? So to simplify that, to let people understand what an Israelite is a bloodline of people. And these people are descendants of the 12 tribes of Israel. And Israel, whose birth name is Jacob, his name was changed to Israel. And he had 12 sons, and the descendants of those 12 sons are Israelites. Now, what's so significant about that? Well, the Most High made a covenant, which is a promise with people, with a bloodline of people on the earth, and that blessing or that inheritance and firstborn status was passed down from generation to generation through a specific seed. And it didn't mean because you were just blood related to that person that's where the blessing went. It went from Abraham to Isaac, then to Jacob, and then Jacob's 12 sons. And those 12 sons make up the 12 tribes of Israel. And that covenant and that promise is with those group of people who have been selected to be the priests of the Most High, to be the chosen people, not because they're just going to be better than everybody or they're just such a great people. No, he was going to give them his spirit and show them his ways so that they could teach the rest of the world how to approach unto the Most High in holiness. So that's what an Israelite is. Now, what the world has done is taken the word, the instructions, the Torah, the Bible, which was given to the children of Israel, and they've created religions off of it. And that's why you have people that are not Israelites that are claiming that this is the right way, but don't understand it because it wasn't given to them. It was given to our people. And if you are the descendants of the slaves on the transcontinental slave trade, then you are likely an Israelite according to the definition of what the Israelites look like and the prophecies of what they would go through. The prophecies of what they would go through, which we went over last week in Deuteronomy 28 when we had a question, those prophecies that would happen to the children of Israel for not keeping the commandments is what identifies who we are, because we obviously did not keep the commandments, or else the world would be in peace. We'd be on top. So all those curses that happened to the children of Israel for not keeping the promise made with the Most High is only happening in its entirety. It's only happening to us and to people that look like us, the people that have been through the same situation that we have been, being shipped to the four corners of the earth and sold like cargo. We're the only ones that go through that. And that's what it said in Deuteronomy 28, that all these curses would stick onto you. Not one or two. You can find other races or nations of people that have had one or two of these curses before. I mean, bad things happen. But from the whole Deuteronomy 28, all these things happening to every one of your people, it's only happened to one group of people, and that's to the descendants of the transcontinental and the sub-Saharan slave trades. Those are the only people that fit all of those things. So that's what an Israelite is. It's not a religion. A religion would be Judaism. That's a religion. Christianity, that's a religion. Religion is not in this book. There's false pagan worship in this book. And then there's religions in this book, which was cast away, which was against the Most High. But we were never given a religion. We were given laws, statutes, and judgments. This Bible is nothing more than a history book, a prophecy book, and a law book for our culture. That's all it is. It's not a religion. Every man can do what he wanted to do. But at the end of the day, those that wanted to be covered under the Most High had to follow his ways if you wanted to live. Or you can choose death. The choice was ours. So that's what an Israelite is. So if we have any questions on that, go ahead and comment, and we'll try to get to those questions at the end of the class.
So I have two questions regarding that, regarding the curses. Now, we know that the seed of Abraham, were the Israelites were cursed, but would that also mean the spiritual seed of Abraham was cursed, or how does that work?
No, because the spiritual seed, or those that are going to cleave on to Israel, did not make that covenant with him.
Right.
They didn't make the covenant. Their forefathers, and covenant is sealed with blood. They didn't have that covenant. So again, at some point, they're going to have to keep the laws to be, in YAH's. But at this point, that covenant was not made with them. So Saul talks about it there and said, listen, he tells the Gentiles, listen, just stay away from strangled food. They don't need to go get circumcised. That's a covenant that wasn't made with them. You can't insert them into that covenant. But eventually, they are going to have to fall under those same rules that we fall in. And if they live amongst us in our land, then they have to follow those laws. But where's our land? Where do we have jurisdiction over? We don't even have jurisdiction over ourselves in this country because we are 3/5 of a person. So we don't have a land that is ours that we can say, okay, if you come over here, you got to follow those laws. Because at the end of the day, wherever we live, man's law is going to trump all of that stuff where we're at.
So would it be the same thing for the strangers that were with Israel?
Anybody who dwelled with us had to abide by our laws.
But they're not necessarily attached to the covenant?
No, they're not in the covenant. But if they were in the house, in our property, then they had to follow the laws of YAH, because our houses were being governed by that.
Okay, so
in the land, because the land would spew you out if you weren't keeping the laws.
Okay, so the seed of the strangers were not affected by the curses, or?
What do you mean affected by the curses? Like,
I mean, would they be under the same curses of the covenant?
No, definitely not, because you can go to Deuteronomy 28, you can see that. They're not keeping the covenant. They're not keeping those commandments like that, but they're not receiving those those curses the way we're receiving them.
Okay.
Now, if you had, which you did have, strangers that cleaved unto the house of Israel, their children are under that covenant too. So you got Gentiles whose children are under the covenant of the El of Israel.
But
They might not even know it. Feel me? So,
but does that mean that the curses affect them, or I mean, the curses and the blessings pertain to them?
it would seem so, bro. What I'm saying is, when that mixed multitude came out of the land, you feel me? Even when, wasn't it Caleb?
Mm-hmm. He wasn't even mixed.
He crossed over, you feel me? Meaning, there was strangers that cleaved unto the house of Israel, and he said, let not a stranger say, I am not a son. You know what I mean? Meaning, it pertains if they are under that covenant,
Right.
and if they honor that covenant.
Well, they're not saved by covenant. We are saved by covenant, and we are covered under the blood of the Mashiach. But the Gentile wasn't saved by covenant because he wasn't under that covenant. He never agreed.
No, I'm saying for the strangers that were in the house of Israel,
they had to abide.
That went into the covenant.
They had to abide. They had to get circumcised.
I'm not saying I know the answer to this. I'm just saying that it looks like their seeds would be under that covenant too, because that's how y'all did. It would be something that's really beyond our scope.
They would be kind of included in Israel. So it would no longer necessarily be the stranger. They would be considered like Israel, like even Caleb, who got a lot amongst Judah. So they were considered part of Israel, but they wouldn't be the other nations and then under that covenant. Because he says it in there, what other nation have you made covenant with?
Right.
So he hasn't made a covenant with another nation like
they gotta
that.
forsake their nation.
Right. But pertaining to the law, if they want to cleave on to the children of Yasharal, then they have to keep that covenant. Now, this is prior to the Mashiach. Now, when the Mashiach came on the scene, it's a different type of covenant. You see what I'm saying? So they didn't have to go do all the blood, because the blood portion of the covenant was put aside with Yahshua's death. They're now being covered under the blood. So now they had to follow the moral laws that we followed and keep the holy days and do those type of things if they were going to be amongst the children of Israel. But if they just wanted to just, serve Yah, Saul gave instruction on that, on how they should do, listen, start with this before you trying to jump. Our people been doing this for thousands of years and still stumbling at this. Start with just the basic. Stay away from this wickedness. And if you learn from Israel, you're going to naturally cleave on to things that are righteous. And then to further answer that question, if they were under the covenant, then the curses would be attached to that. Then they would not have an idea of who they are. They would be discontinued from their heritage. You wouldn't have a clue who they were. They would be dispersed to the four corners of the earth. Their children would be taken away and sold to. None of these things happen to those people. So they obviously not under the same covenant that we were under, but at the same time, a man will reap what he sows. If you do wickedness, I don't care what nation you are, you're going to receive a wicked reward. But are you getting 7 times the punishment for your stuff? Show me the Gentile that's getting 7 times the punishment. Nah, that don't happen.
Right, so that's why y'all said you're gonna be purified 7 times over in the furnace, that's 7.
That's deep.
Okay, so Deuteronomy 29:9 says, "Keep therefore the words of this covenant and do them, that you may prosper in all that you do. You stand this day, all of you, before Yahweh your Elohim, your captains of your tribes, your elders, and your officers with all the men of Yasharal, your little ones, your wives, and your stranger that is in your camp, from the hewer of your wood unto the drawer of your water, that you should enter into the covenant with Yahweh your Elohim, and into his oath which Yahweh your Elohim makes with you this day."
What verse is that?
That's 11. That's 9 through 12. Okay, I just read. So the strangers were under the covenant, according to this, right?
They had to abide by those laws. But again, they are being absorbed into Israel. They are no longer, just like when you marry a woman of another nation, she's no longer like the Moabite. She is now an Israelite. So in that sense, they can kind of be under the covenant when you're absorbed into it, but it wasn't a covenant with that nation of people.
Okay.
So now the individual, like I said, if you dwelt amongst us, you had to keep these laws. You couldn't come into our land and our law and serve pagan gods. You can't do that. The land will spew you. But he did not make covenant with no other nation. But these individuals that are owned by the children of Yasharal, because basically they're owned by the children of Yasharal. They're the strangers that are dwelling amongst them, and they're serving the children of Yasharal in their land. They had to keep that. You could not choose not to keep that. But the simplest way to look at that is the same way we identify us by the curses. Show me the curses. Show me where this has stuck onto your nation. All the Native Americans or all the Russians or all the, but we can show you our curse. All of that happened to all of us. Not any of us can answer that question.
I get that.
But the main point, and I think Keskiel was bringing up that main point, is he is setting up a house of prayer for all nations. There's no nation that's excluded, even to the point where we just said with Caleb, who was an Edomite. But yet he's getting a lot amongst Judah. So Yah is showing you he has a special vessel amongst every nation. And with that nation, if you cleave on and become a spiritual son, the spiritual seed is what matters. The physical seed just determined the order on the earth and your job. That didn't guarantee that you were going to make it into the kingdom. Matter of fact, it just gave you a 66% chance that you are not going to make the kingdom, because he's cutting off 2/3 of our people. So it's all about the spirit. It's all about keeping the law, the spirit of the law, and righteousness, and being covered under the blood of the saving word of Yah. So we're, again, that was our opening portion to really go over some new things. If we have any other questions, go ahead and just comment them and we'll get to them. And the title of today's Shabbat study is The Inner Conflict. The Inner Conflict. And as we, one of my brothers and I, we were talking earlier about, marriage and, as you get into a marriage, you start to go through these little conflicts as you're trying to come together and be one. And you figure like, oh, you're a perfect match made in heaven. You can just get married and everything is just great. And nah, don't work that way. Because of the way we grew up and us trying to leave that way of life and come into a way of righteousness, there's a lot of internal conflict within each of us. Before we even go to war to say a single word to somebody else, we battling ourselves. We battling the flesh. We battling the guy I was yesterday versus the guy I am today and the guy I am tomorrow. We're battling going on that we got to deal with before we even say shalom or good morning, boker tov to our isha or our ish. So there's so much inner conflict that what you think is going to happen, you got two people going through inner conflict and then now they come together. Now you got twice as much inner conflict. And then you have the conflict of just being man and a woman. So all these things are setting the stage for conflict and strife. And the only way to overcome that is to first overcome that inner conflict that you're dealing with. Once you can deal with that inner conflict and you can get yourself at par, where, okay, I'm even keel now. I'm not going to go this direction. I'm not going to go that direction. Now you can view things from the other individual, whether they got it together or not, and line that up against your instructions on how to handle each situation in righteousness. And we stick to the commandments because that's where the faith comes in. If I follow and do it the righteous way, and the righteous way isn't always surface level where it says you will do this when this, but no, why would I do this? Why would the Most High want us to do this? What would be the righteousness in that? And trying to achieve that goal by using the commandments as your blueprint and as your map. Once you apply everything like that, you have to have the faith that is going to work out to your benefit. But to work out to your benefit doesn't always appear the way you want it to appear. We think it's going to work out in my benefit. I'm going to get this job and make all this money. But the Most High is saying, nah, to work out in your benefit is you're going to get embarrassed. You're going to lose that job. You're going to hit all the way rock bottom, and then you're going to turn to me. And then I'm going to give you your real occupation. But see, we don't understand that. We see things the way we want to see things, the way we're trained to see. We're trained to see things by television, by the things we see, by marketing that tells you, at 18 you should be driving a Mercedes-Benz and live in a house and party all day and you never work. That's not realistic. So we're basing a lot of things on the stuff that's been inputted in. So we got to replace that by inputting in with the righteous instruction. All right, so we're going to first open up in Bereshit, Genesis chapter 30. And here we see the patriarch speaking of Israel. We're looking at Jacob. This is Jacob called before his name was changed to Yasharal or Yisrael. And there was a conflict going on here. And we're going to go a little bit deeper than surface level on this conflict that was going on. Can you sit at that computer so you can take a look at the comments and then log in Facebook? It should already be up. And see if we have any questions, you can let us know.
All right, Genesis, Bereshit, chapter 32 and verse 1. And Yaakov went on his way, and the angels of Elohim met him. And when Yaakov saw them, he said, "This is Elohim's host." And he called the name of that place Mahanaim. And Yaakov sent messengers before him to Esau his brother unto the land of Seir, the country of Edom. And he commanded them, saying, "Thus shall you speak unto my sovereign Esau, your servant Yaakov says thus, I have sojourned with Laban and stayed there unto now. And I have oxen and donkeys, flocks and men servants and women servants, and I have sent to tell my sovereign that I may find grace in your sight." And the messengers returned to Yaakov, saying, we came to your brother Esau, and also he comes to meet you, and 400 men with him. Then Jacob was greatly afraid and distressed, and he divided the people that was with him, and the flocks, and the herds, and the camels into 2 bands, and said, If Esau come to the one company and smite it, then the other which is left shall escape.
So what you're seeing right now, this is after Esau and Jacob had some disagreement about the inheritance. Jacob left with the inheritance, and he's afraid of his brother Esau, who wants to kill him. Drop down to verse 22.
Genesis chapter 32 and verse 22. And he rose up that night and took the 2 wives and his 2 women servants and his 11 sons and passed over the ford of Jabbok. And he took them and sent them over the brook, and over that he had. And Jacob was left alone, and there wrestled a man with him until the breaking of the day.
All right, so Jacob was left alone, and he said there wrestled a man with him until the breaking of the day. So he was alone, and now he's wrestling a man. Now, it identifies this man as an angel, but who was he really wrestling with? Now, when you look at this, could this be him wrestling with himself, the old? Because we know something is about to change. So, whenever you look at the stories in the Bible, me personally, I take it literal. I read it literal, but I also understand it's being literally done for a spiritual implication. So you don't want to say, oh, this is just metaphorical. Nah, if it says that he wrestled with a man, I'm going to believe what the word said. But why is he wrestling with a man? What does that represent? What is going on here? So you want to look at things from a deeper perspective. And then when you get an understanding of something, don't just take it and run with it. See if you can find that same pattern happening elsewhere in the word. If you're in the Old Testament, find it in the New Testament. If you're in the New Testament, find it in the Old Testament. And that's how you gain a better understanding of what's going on. Go ahead.
And when he saw that he prevailed not against him, he touched the hollow of his thigh, and the hollow of Jacob's thigh was out of joint as he wrestled with him.
All right. Now, from a Greco perspective, when we see wrestle, what do we think when we think wrestle?
WWE.
WWE, can you smell what the Rock is cooking? And all that. You think wrestling like with some little tiny shorts on, but from the African mind frame in African martial arts, anything that takes the person down to the ground is considered wrestling. So when you're doing hand-to-hand combat, and you're doing some kind of martial arts, and you knock the person to the ground, or you put somebody in a leg lock or an arm bar or whatever, and you bring them to the ground, that's considered wrestling. So he's going to conflict with this man, and his leg is getting the largest bone in his body is getting destroyed. Go ahead.
Verse 26. And he said, Let me go, for the day breaks. And he said, I will not let you go, except you bless me. And he said unto him, What is your name? And he said, Jacob. And he said, Your name shall be called no more Jacob, but Yasharal, Israel, for a prince has you power with Elohim and with men, and has prevailed.
All right, so now you see Jacob's name, Jacob, is now being changed to Yasharal, Israel. And that's interesting because typically a man don't change another man's name. That's really like a man changes a woman's name, like you're being married. So there's some symbolism going on. Like, why are you changing this man's name? And then also the name, when you become an Israelite, your name changes according to Isaiah 42, I believe, or 44. One will take the name Yah, other name will prescribe his hand in marriage and surname himself Yisrael, right? So this situation here, his name is being changed, and the name, when you change your name, has some significance. The name means something. It's not like how we make up a name, your daddy named Terry, and your father name, your mother named Wendy, so you're Tendi. And you just make something up. Nah, in Hebrew, names mean something. So Israel means something. It means, from the root word Sarah, is like a prince, a princess, or a prince of power. And El is just mighty one, the power. It's power with El, power with God. Or if you take the Yashar, that whole, it's upright with God. And when you're upright with God, you have power with God. That's the people that have power with him, people that are upright, that are righteous, that know his ways and do his ways. So this is what's being changed in Jacob right now. He is becoming somebody who's going to have power with the Most High. Go ahead. Verse 29.
So a question about that real quick. So if we want to be blessed in a sense and to obtain that power with the Most High, does that mean we have to, in a sense, wrestle with him, in a sense, like, or to wrestle more so against ourselves or the evil in us, in a sense?
Now you're looking at it. Now you open it up. And that's what I wanted to inspire us to look at that. We've been wrestling. We just figured out whose team we on.
Right.
You've been wrestling your whole life. That's why they took the little thing. They got a picture of the little red guy that looked like you, and then like the white guy that looked like you. We constantly wrestling with that. Wrestling against the flesh. The flesh wants you to do all these bad things, but we only fight in the fight that society tells us, nah, don't do that. Or your parents, don't do that. So then we wrestle with that aspect. But we constantly have turmoil going into us, and for us to become Yasharah, we have to wrestle with that spirit and not lose until he bless us, and not give up until he bless us, where we're not wrestling so much with the same things. But that's still, you see, he went all night. So that wrestling match is still going on. But you cannot stop until he blesses you and changes your Shem. Your Shem is not only your appellation. You got plenty of Hebrews that get baptized, come out just a clean heathen. But they got a new name. You know, they such and such. You know, they brother, you know, such and such, but they doing the same thing. Nah, you have to wrestle and not give up until he bless you and give you the character of the Most High, which is to be upright with the Mighty One, the power.
Genesis chapter 32 and verse 29. And Jacob asked him and said, tell me, I pray you, your name. And he said, wherefore is it that you do ask me, and he blessed him there.
All right, so now this is what I think. Again, anytime I teach, I always make sure I differentiate what I can precept and what I think. What's revealed to me is he's wrestling with Israel. That's to me who he's wrestling with. He's wrestling with the firstborn spirit. The spirit that's in heaven. When he says, Israel is my firstborn, that's the word. That's the Savior word of YAH he wrestling with right here. And that's why he's being surnamed Israel. His name is being changed to Israel. That's what I believe. Go ahead. And this is why we're called Israelites. Go ahead.
And Jacob called the name of the place Peniel, for I have seen Elohim face to face, and my life is preserved.
All right, so Peniel or Penuel is the name of the place. And if you look at that, it's like the pineal gland. The pineal gland is what they call the third eye. So in this place is where he was face to face with the Most High. Now remember, Moshe went face to face. And when they said he spoke face to face, it was paneum. The plural of the pineal gland, the paneum. So at this time, when you're face to face, there's some kind of understanding here where you're learning something. There's an exchange of righteousness, righteous word coming from the Most High that's penetrating you. And at this place is where he's saying it happened. And when you look at where this place is, where you're face to face with the Most High, that's east of Jordan when you look at that. So you look up Penuel, a place east of the Jordan. So you have Jordan River and you have Jordan, and it's east of the Jordan. So in that region right there, for some reason, he was able to have better connection with the Most High, have a better understanding. His pineal gland was able to be penetrated. And those that have been there, one of my brothers been to Jordan, he said that it's so deserted and quiet out there that you can meditate and pray on a whole nother level. Because even if we just be silent and quiet right now, we're going to hear the air conditioning, we're going to hear the refrigerator, we're going to hear planes flying by, we're going to hear the city from a distance, and all that takes away from your concentration. But when it's pitch black, pitch dark, and silent, you can hear things that you can't hear with your ears, that you're picking up with your spiritual antenna, that you don't have all that interference around you.
We got another question.
Mm-hmm.
It says, Shalom, from Brian J. Jones. It says, Shalom, I and a few other Israelites questioning why your heads are covered when I share your videos.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember what the answer you gave me was, so can you please go over that again? Shalom.
Shalom. Thank you for asking. First of all, what I would say is, show me the law that says it is unlawful or lawful for me to cover my head. There is no Torah. There is no law given by the Most High saying that we have to cover our heads or uncover our heads. Now, there is a law pertaining to the high priest and the sons of Levi that had to have their heads covered when they did the service of the law, because that was their uniform. So we emulate their uniform by covering our heads to show that we are certain coverings off to respect that tradition. That's not a law. And when you go break down the Strongs and look, all you got to do is go into 1 Corinthians chapter 13 and what's not 13? Is it 11? It's chapter 11, right? Let me look that up. 1 Corinthians 13, I believe, is love. So it's Corinthians chapter 11, I believe, and verse 13. Yeah, 1 Corinthians chapter 11. Now, when you go into that, read that chapter again when it's talking about a man covering or uncovering his head. And when you look at what it was talking about having your head fully covered. For example, when you go to a funeral, a woman would wrap her face and veil her whole face because she don't want everybody seeing all them ugly faces she make when she pray. When she's crying because she done lost her, she a widow. So it's talking about that. When it talks about King David, when he was going up the mountain and all his brethren was going with him and he was crying, he had his whole head wrapped fully. That is disrespectful to the Most High to come to him in that manner, like you're showing up to a funeral. That's not proper. So that's what that was talking about. And when it talks about the covering of the head, it's also talking about circumferential. They were circumferential coverings, like what we're doing. We're not covering the whole part of the head. It's just the top of our head. So again, there is no law that says that you have to have your head covered, and there's no law that says you can't have your head covered. But what we do is respect the tradition that when we pray or we prophesy, we uncover our heads. Right now, we're not praying, so our heads are covered. And we're not prophesying, so our heads are covered. Reading what somebody else prophesied 1,000 years ago does not make us a prophet. If that was the case, you can get a Ku Klux Klanman and let him read Deuteronomy 28, now he a prophet. But we wouldn't respect that. So why all of a sudden will we be prophets or are we prophesying? Because we reading out the scriptures. And we're definitely not praying. So when it says praying or prophesying, you should uncover your head. So I hope I answered that. We also have some classes on that, which breaks the whole thing down. All right, so we're back in Genesis chapter 32. And what verse are we at?
Verse 31.
All right.
And as he passed over Penuel, the sun rose upon him, and he halted upon his thigh. Therefore,
limped. When you say halted, he was limping from his thigh.
Therefore the children of Yasharal eat not of the sinew which shrank, which is upon the hollow of the thigh unto this day, because he touched the hollow of Yaakov's thigh and the sinew that shrank.
All right, so go ahead, brother.
So we're not supposed to eat no thigh, chicken
You're not
thighs.
supposed to eat the little tendons on there. The tendons is what causes the muscle.
But we should just stay away from any type of thighs. Different.
You know, me personally, I don't even like thighs, to be honest with you. I like leg. But, I mean, you want to stay away from the tendons. And I don't even like the tendons in the, it's like stringy and, you know, yeah, I don't know. I didn't like fat either. And we're not supposed to eat that. So you're right. We're not
You
supposed
don't
to.
hear a lot of brothers bringing that up. You feel me? Like, let's not just stay away from the thigh in case you accidentally eat that.
You could. Because, you know, people eat everything on that bone. I don't. I'm just weird like that. But it just happened to work out for me according to the scripture. All right. So let's move on to Proverbs chapter 3. So Yaakov is wrestling with the old, and this is why we call, those of us that have been in the word for a little bit, you know, we use the term Jake. Oh, you know, Jake. Oh, you know, Jake gonna do this, Jake gonna do that. When they're saying that term, they're saying Jacob. Jacob before he became Israel. So when you are fighting amongst yourself, you're fighting Jake. Jake, the old you that do what he want to do. Israel's the new you that's in covenant. That's going to be doing the things that please his father. So this is the struggle that's happening in us at all times. It's the struggle between doing the things that pleases our flesh and doing the things that pleases the Father. Sometimes doing the thing that pleases the Father pleases our flesh, but it's not going to always be that way. Proverbs, Mishlei, chapter 3. And, you know, thank you for asking the question about the head coverings. You know, it's just a doctrine that's taught, you know, from the precepts of men. At the end of the day, to rebuke somebody, just like for a police officer to arrest you and bring you before a judge, you have to have a law that was broken. And they have to say, well, section C law, blah, 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 says that you must not do this, and you did that. Well, it's the same thing with the heads covering. You can't go to the New Testament and go to Saul and say where Saul is saying something and say, you see, here's the law. Really? If that was the case, then why is there no Torah? Why in the commandments was given, it was not brought up, not discussed? Go ahead, Al.
I mean, furthermore, he states in that same verse where he's speaking on head coverings that there is no such law. So there's no contention with us about this because there is no such law.
Right.
Meaning, it's your choice.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And look who he's talking to. He's talking to the Corinthians, man. He wasn't talking to Israel. To people that at minimum, at maximum, it was Israelites that were living like Gentiles. It wasn't like he was in Jerusalem talking to people. So, you know, you got to take things and understand what was going on. The Corinthians used to wear, another one is long hair. In the same chapter. People say, oh, why you got locks when you got long hair? You know, in 1 Corinthians chapter 11. First of all, read that. It was a different word that was used. They have a Greek word for long. They have a Greek word for hair. So the word that they used was wearing your hair in tresses. Like what you see the British and all them people in the Egyptians will wear those wigs, them big long wigs where you looking at a statue, is like that a woman or a man? You couldn't tell. Because they had these big long wigs and they would wear eyeliner like women and all that type of stuff. And you couldn't tell. So the Euro Gentiles was copying the Egyptians wearing these big curly long wigs. They even called them the wigs. And they wearing these long things looking like women. And he's like saying, bro, does that look masculine to you? Does nature even show you that you a punk? You walking around here with a wig? You can't even work, your wig falling off and all, you know, like, what kind of man, what you gonna do? What kind of work, how you gonna get in a fight and you fighting your brother, your wig on your eye, you getting hit, and you like, oh, they just pull his wig up, you start beating him up. It don't make no sense. And then how could Hebrews, you tell a Hebrew he could not have locks in his hair when every picture of the Hebrews from ancient time, not the new ones, bros had locks. Absalom hair, weighed, he was the king's son, weighed King David's son, weighed almost as much as him. So where you get, how do you have Samson, Shimshon, destroying people with a jawbone, destroying people, hating on his locks? You see what I'm saying? Like,
I don't understand.
it don't make any sense.
Our brothers can, I guess there's a whole doctrine that says you can't have locks in some of these camps. Like,
Bruh, I'm telling you where that doctrine came from, the doctrine of bald-headed brothers.
asinine.
That's where that came from. Brothers that can't grow hair. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying all brothers that can't grow it, because some brothers just real. Like, look, bruh, you know, my beard don't grow in all the way full. I'm not going to come up with a doctrine that you can't have a long beard because, you know, you're unclean. That's some hating stuff, bruh. Nice beard. I comb mine another 10 years, it'll look like that, hopefully.
There's even record, like, when the Moors took over Spain, when the Moors defeated Spain and took over Spain and built those castles, they were saying when they was coming into the city, like, they were terrified because they seen these black faces with these locks
Beards.
just flying in beards, right? So it's like, man, we know that we are the originators of this stuff, and for people to try to make us feel ashamed, you know what I'm saying, to try to return to our culture.
Right.
You know what I mean? We in the mirror, we shaving, we got the little razors out, we got all this stuff trying to be like our enemies, like our oppressors. And now suddenly, you know what I'm saying, we're drawn back to who we are, and you got brothers creating doctrines trying to make brothers ashamed. When you go into these Christian churches, all you see is bald-headed men.
Bald faces. They shirt tucked in, their whole package hanging out. I mean, like, it's not righteous. At the end of the day, when somebody wants to rebuke you for something, don't take offense to it. Show me the law that I'm transgressing so I can make sure that I'm on point. That's love. If I'm in error with something, you know, I got this mixed fabric shirt on, it's half wool and half cotton. And you're like, bro, you can't wear this, bro. That's why you keep itching so much, because you got this mixed fabric on you, right? Don't get mad at the brother. Will show me what you're talking about. You know what? You're right. Then you just make the change. But you can't teach based upon the precepts of other men. If you're going to rebuke somebody, make sure that you can go in the book and read it. Just like the brother that just asked the question, Brian Jones. He came humbly. Look. I know people are saying this, and I remember you had brought it up. Can you show me the scripture so that he can address it and not just say, oh, well, my teacher or I heard that this, that. Nah, get in the book and read and understand. Go ahead, Arthur. So we're in Proverbs, Mishlei, chapter 3, and we're going to start this at verse. Go ahead, Arthur.
Oh, I was just going to say also, YAH said the hairs on our head are all numbered, like. So why would he want you to take that number to 0?
Change it.
You
Right.
feel me?
Right.
Yeah,
Egyptians shaved their hair bald.
Exactly.
Right. Because they were putting on wigs. Just like if you want to put a mustache, fake beard on, you got to shave your beard so that you can put the fake one on, because or else you're going to rip off all your hair when you're putting the glue on your face.
Yeah.
So they putting wigs on, they had to shave their hair bald. That's what the Egyptians did. That's not our culture. We grew hair. And we know that you didn't have to have your head covered all the time, because remember the prophet Elijah, when they were teasing him, the kids were teasing bald head. How you gonna know he bald head if he got his head covered? But why would he not have his head covered?
Because he was a prophet.
Because he's a prophet. In any given moment, the spirit can come on him and he start prophesying. So it was a shame to have your head
Hallelujah.
covered, because he was going to prophesy at any given moment.
Proverbs, Mishlei, chapter 3, and verse 1. My son, forget not my law, but let your heart keep my commandments. For length of days and long life and peace shall they add to you.
So if you don't keep the commandments, then what is opposite of length of days and a long life and peace being added unto you? What's the opposite of that?
Short days, chaos.
Right. Exactly.
Crazy.
So that's the curses. Go ahead.
Let not mercy and truth forsake you. Bind them upon your neck. Write them upon the table of your heart. So shall you find favor and good understanding in the sight of Elohim and men.
Now the problem is we think that if we keep a commandment right now, that all of a sudden we're going to look good in the sight of Most High and man. Nah, sometimes you have to be cussed out and called a fool and cut off, and nobody want to deal with you. And then people find out later, man, I see why we shouldn't have been eating all that pork. Because now I just went to the doctor, I got diabetes or whatever problems, and they're telling me I can't eat pork anymore. I should have listened to him, and the only reason he stopped is because Leviticus chapter 11 said don't eat pork. Now you look wise in the sight of man. It said keep Deuteronomy? Keep these laws because this is your wisdom in front of the nations. But it ain't wisdom to them if you ain't doing it and you getting beat down. You getting beat down for not keeping the commandments. They're not looking at you as a wise people. But when you keep the commandments and things start to be favorable to you, and you see a difference, another set of brothers not keeping the commandments is not favorable to them. Now that you're a Gentile looking at you and say, man, that makes sense. Because if he just avoided all these problems by doing this.
It's interesting. Something that just came to me was just thinking about verse 3. It says, let not mercy and truth forsake you. Bind them about your neck, write them upon the table of your heart. It's interesting because a lot of the issues that I've seen we get into, like interpersonally, is a pride thing, and mercy, if you keep mercy on your mind, it keeps you in the mind state of understanding and not being so easily given to pride and things that cause contention amongst other people. So that's something I found interesting.
And how do you bind mercy around your neck and write it on the tables of your heart? If it's on the tables of your heart already, then why would you need it hanging around your neck? Just getting us to think a little bit.
Well, for the second one, I would say to meditate on his word and to consume his word.
Keep it close to you and keep it a written copy. Keep it close to you. You got it with you, and you also have it in your heart. So if you lose this, you can refer to this one, the one on your neck. Okay, here's the commandments. Here's what I need to do. But if you lose that for whatever reason, it's already written in your heart. So you have that. And doing this and keeping the meditation, like you said, on the commandments day and night, that's what's going to let mercy not forsake you. Because you're walking in his mercy. You're walking in his truth. And when you mess up, keyword when you mess up, you fall into mercy. Because you have bound that around your neck and you've engraved it on your hearts. This word. You weren't made to be perfect. If you was made to be perfect, then you wouldn't have been able to mess up. But you're commanded to be tamim, perfect. Go ahead.
Verse 4. So shall you find favor and good understanding in the sight of Elohim and men. Trust in Yahweh with all your heart and lean not onto your own understanding.
Okay, so that's the answer to that struggle inside, that inner conflict. Don't trust yourself, because yourself is biased to thyself. So when you're fighting to do something, you want to do something, but then if you have an understanding of what side you're on, okay, well, the commandments say do this. Righteousness said do this. But my flesh is telling me do this, you need this, worked hard, you deserve to transgress this law, this one. You're not going to go to the lake of fire for doing this, because look at all the good you've done. Don't lean on your own understanding. What does the word say in plain simplicity? Don't do this, and don't do that, and don't do that. Next question is, why should I not do that? Well, most of the time, the reason is just because, like your parents say. Why? Because I said so. That should be enough. But once you go to the next layer so that you can make sure you apply it properly, well, why shouldn't I do this? Well, the commandment says, thou shalt not steal. Okay, well, why shouldn't I steal? Well, if I take from somebody and somebody's depending on that and they need that, that's going to put them in a bad spot. You know what I'm saying? And if I need the thing that I'm stealing from somebody, if I own that, I'm stealing it, obvious for a reason. I need it or I want it. Well, if I want and need something that I already have, how's that going to make me feel if somebody else takes it away? But then here's your own understanding. Man, that man got so many other things, bro. He ain't going to care. He don't even, why you just ask him? Just ask the man. He'd have given it to you. Half of the time, people would have just gave it to you and asked them. But your pride, nah, I don't want to admit that I need something, or I don't want to be in debt to somebody, or I just don't like him. I'm just going to do what I want. Nah, don't lean into your own understanding. That's the inner conflict. They steal all the time. This man, I know for a fact this man steals from other people. But what that got to do with you? He said, you alone do I sin against. Yeah, you alone. You just sinning through that person, but you sinning against Yah, because that's what a covenant is between you and Yah. But we'll use all our mind, all our strength, all our power to justify what the flesh wants to do. Go ahead.
I think that's the big problem, which you said, as far as leaning onto your own understanding, because I know when I'm going through issues where I'm in a tight spot, and it's like when you're being kind of tested or tried, you start feeling like basically like you do start questioning what you know to be true through Yah. You know what I'm saying? It's like your mind will start coming up, like you said, with justifications for certain things. And really, it's like you said, sometimes you just got to not do it because he said don't do it.
Just do it, right. Right.
And that's, that can be difficult to do.
We're not perfect. And that's why you can't judge your brother and sister that fall short, because you fell short plenty of times. So you can't judge nobody. But the best way to do when you're in that situation, because it's just like if you're not prepared for a race, you're not going to finish it, or you're not going to win. You're not prepared. You didn't train. Don't mean you quit your career and you don't run no more. Nah, you go train. You try harder. But don't lie to yourself and say, man, I won that race. Woo, I got that, boy. I got that gold medal. Nah, bro, you don't have anything on your neck. No, it's a gold. You don't see it? No, bro, you lost. You're last. No, I won. And that's how it's easier to feel that way. Now, be real with yourself. Look, man, I know I shouldn't have did that. It's wrong. Please forgive me, y'all. Give me the strength. I'm going to do what I can do not to do this. It's not right. But you can't even, you're saying, ripping mercy off your neck and erasing the law in your heart. When you say what clearly says don't do this and you say it's okay to do that, that's what you're doing. That's what the devil wants you to do. You're forsaking the mercy of the Most High, because the Most High created repentance. That's how merciful he is. So don't waste your time with your own understanding. If it clearly says something is wrong and your flesh wants you to do something that's pleasing to it, 99.99999999999% of the time, it's wrong. It's that simple. And if you choose not to please the flesh, is that going to be a transgression? Is that going to offend the Most High? We don't ask ourselves those questions. That's how you know you in the flesh. Because if it say, you know what, I shouldn't, shave my beard, right? That the law says don't shave off the corners of your beard. Now, I know what it says in the Hebrew, but just say I didn't know that. And I really thought that you couldn't touch any part of your beard. You had to be like all the way out. If I didn't know that, I'm trying to shave my beard because I want to get the nice little, the little Abraham that matches the little thin line and everything. I want to have it real nice and neat and look good. That's vanity. Straight up. I want to look nice. Ain't nothing wrong with that. But if I'm confused of whether or not it's lawful to do that, and I know I only really want to do that to look nice for a picture or a headshot or, to impress my girlfriend or whatever, then it's safer to say I'm not going to touch it all, because it's not a transgression for me to not shave it. And it's possible that it could be a transgression for me to shave off my beard. So until I know for sure, let me just pause for a second. But what the flesh gonna do? Oh, nah, man, do whatever you want to do. You ain't gonna lose Sabbath. And that's clear indication of what's going on. So if we can approach it in that way, well, it says don't do that until you learn better, then cool. Now to get into that beard thing, when you talking about the beard, what it's talking about, if you look at those words, is to kill, to strike. What they used to do is cut themselves. They would cut, Africans cut, they still do it to this day. They put marks to show who they are. Africans don't even really grow beards like that. But they cut themselves. And they don't want you to cut the corners of your face where they do the marks for the tribes on their face. That's a heathen practice. We can't destroy our temple. That's what that was talking about. Go ahead.
You know, another thing that also comes to mind is trusting on your own understanding. I think a lot of people will, like, they'll see something that says, okay, don't do this, and they don't understand why not. You know what I'm saying? And they will basically, they'll just say, okay, well, I don't understand, and they'll just go with it. You know what I'm saying? And they'll say, they'll use that as justification to do whatever, instead of asking the Father to give you understanding. You know what I'm saying? Right. And that's not always immediate. You know, at least in my experience, it's not. But in my experience, also waiting for that understanding, you will receive it in due time. You know what I'm saying?
Amen. You don't need to understand everything to be obedient. Be obedient first. In the obedience is where you learn. We do it all the time. The wax on, the wax off, wax on, wax off. Why? This doesn't make any. Why am I doing this? I'm just cleaning up your stupid thing. Then he's like, wax on, and he's punching him, and he's blocking, wax off, blocking, block. Oh, now it makes sense. But if you just tell somebody to go like this and like that, then they can really understand what they're doing. But when you've done it so much and you know, okay, this moves things away. This moves things away that way. Paint pencil, block high, block low, block high, block low. Okay, I'm used to that motion. I got the muscle memory and I understand I can move my body in this action. That's the knowledge. Then comes the wisdom and understanding, oh, when he punches, wax on. When he punches, wax off. Oh, it makes sense. That's how the commandments work. You start doing certain things, like when they say, look, don't even have a drink with a married woman. Why? I know I'm not going to sleep with no married woman. Why would I do that? But when you just do that for a while and don't drink, and you watching the brother, you telling the brother, hey, bro, you know she married. Don't drink with that woman, bro. Don't drink with that woman. And then, they all hugging up, and they friend. Next thing you know, something happened, and he ashamed. He mad. He want to kill himself because he done, betrayed one of his brothers or something. Man, they call that thing spirits for a reason. Just follow the instructions like a child. You don't explain to a 2-year-old why not to touch the stove. You just tell him, I'm going to pop you if you touch that stove. And when he's older, you explain, because you can burn yourself. And you want to make sure you cut it on to this heat to cook, so forth and so on. The what?
Proverbs chapter 3 and verse 7. Be not wise in your own eyes, fear Yahweh, and depart from evil.
Don't be smarter than these commandments. You're not. Go ahead.
It shall be health to your navel and marrow to your bones.
That's your health. That's your health benefit. That's your health care right there. Keeping these commandments. Go ahead.
Honor Yahweh with your substance and with the first fruits of all your increase. So shall your barns be filled with plenty, and your presses shall burst out with new wine.
Trust Yahweh. Don't lean on your own understanding. Say, I can't give away my stuff. I can't give the best of what I have to Yah, because then I won't have enough for my family. That's like the same guy that said, I'm going to work on the Shabbat because I'm not going to be able to feed my family. He's telling you, no, on the 6th day, I'm going to give you twice as much. That's a miracle. But you got to have faith in that. Go ahead.
My son, despise not the chastening of Yahweh, neither be wary of his correction. For whom Yahweh loves, he corrects, even as a father, the son in whom he delights.
So if you getting dealt with when you know you doing wickedness, count joy in that. Give glory unto the Father, because he could allow you to do. I know we've all grown up. I don't know. Have y'all grown up with somebody that used to get away with doing a lot of bad stuff? Their parents never punished them. And you like, man, you grounded. He out there knocking on the window for you to come out. You like, how this man out, we just broke this lady window and how he outside running. Man, I wish my parents was like that. Where did these people end up if they didn't change? 2 places they ended up. What's one of them? Jail. What's the other? Dead or in jail. Because if you're allowed to just do whatever you want to do, it's just like if you could bend your arm and there was no pain, you'd bend it till it break. Because there's no pain. So you have to inflict pain on these children when they do the wrong thing so they know, oh, if I do that, I'm going to get pain. Go ahead.
Happy is the man that finds wisdom and the man that gets understanding. For the merchandise of it is better than the merchandise of silver, and the gain thereof than fine gold. She is more precious than rubies, and all things you can desire are not to be compared unto her. Length of days is in her right hand, and in her left hand riches and honor. Her ways are ways of pleasure, and all her paths are peace.
Notice why it's talking about a woman like the wisdom like a woman. Does that mean that this is an actual female? No. This is a spirit. A spirit don't have a sex. But there is a dominant and a inferior, a superior and an inferior. There's your little toe is inferior to your big toe. But do you want to walk without your little toe? Nah, you want all your toes. So this spirit of wisdom is your companion. It's the companion spirit. The spirit of YAH is you, and these wisdom, these sliver spirits that slivered off the spirit of YAH are your companions. And these are the companions that if a companion is with you, length of days is in your right hand and riches and honor is in your left hand. Go ahead.
She is a tree of life to them that lay hold upon her, and happy is everyone that retains her. Yahweh by wisdom has founded the earth, by understanding he has established the heavens. By his knowledge the depths are broken up, and the clouds drop down the dew. My son, let not them depart from your eyes, keep sound wisdom and discretion. So shall your life be unto your soul, and grace to your neck. Then shall you walk in your way safely, and your foot shall not stumble. When you lie down, you shall not be afraid. Yea, though shall you lie down, and your sleep shall be sweet. Be not afraid of sudden fear, neither the desolation of the wicked when it comes. For Yahweh shall be your confidence, and shall keep your foot from being taken.
So YAH will be your confidence. You can't be your confidence because you will trust in your own understanding. You can't let another man, a teacher, an elder, or whoever be your confidence. Cursed is the man that makes flesh his arm. You can't. You got to put your confidence in YAH. And the only way you're going to have confidence in YAH is you walked with him. You know what? I want to go do this thing. It looks easier for me, but now I'm going to keep the commandments and see how it works out. Oh, wow. YAH will make sure you see in the short run. It seemed long to us, but in the short run, he's going to see, oh, yeah, you see? Yeah, well, see what happens when you put your confidence in me? It's almost like, when you training a young kid and you see he got a nice jump shot, but he a little unconfident because he can't dribble that well or whatever. And you like, look, trust me, do the little jab step, pump fake, he gonna go in the air, now you open, take your shot, you gonna hit it. No, he gonna steal the ball, Nah, just trust it. Boom, he starts shooting, he hit that first shot, he like, man, I'm kind of nice. They hit that next shot, kind of nice. Now he confident, he doing a step Curry, throwing it up, doing all, because but you only gonna gain that confidence from doing it and trusting it, and when you see that it works, now you're confident. So we have to put this word the same way. All of our people, say your word of YAH. Our assembly, everything we do is based on word. We argue about the word in a good way. Oh, I'm gonna go left. Now we're gonna go right. Well, the word said we need to do, the word said, That's how we need to be thinking. If your clique or your crew don't operate that way, what does the word say we should do? The word is king because we have trusted it. We have put that to test. Some people trust it a little bit more than other people. But at the end of the day, all of us have our trust in this word. That's where your confidence is going to be. And now you can be a real threat out here, because now you can walk up in federal buildings like, what? What you want to do? I know we're a threat to you, but you can't do nothing unless my daddy allow it. So what you want? You want my ID? You want my number? Here you go. I don't care. You can't do nothing to me without my father. But how are you going to know that until you're in those situations where you're like, yeah, I can't get out of this situation. Please. And he help you. Even in your wickedness, he help you.
Proverbs chapter 3 and verse 27. Withhold not good from them to whom it is due, when it is in the power of your hand to do it.
No, I don't tell them come back tomorrow, I'm going to tighten you up. No, you got it now. Tighten them up now. That might save that person's life.
Say not unto your neighbor, go and come again, and tomorrow I will give when you have it by you. Devise not evil against your neighbor, seeing he dwells securely by you. Strive not with a man without a cause, and if he have done you no harm.
So if you hear something about another man, if he didn't do it to you, don't strive with that man. You don't know if that's true. You got to seek diligent into a matter. But what we'll do is somebody say something about somebody, instant conviction. Where they do that at? That's not our law. They're not with the. See, we have picked up, like what Kiel said, we have picked up the ways of the Gentiles. Now we doing what they do. Because somebody put a post of a picture of a man up there and write a title on there. Oh, he's guilty. How you know that? Did you investigate? Now you can't say he's innocent the same way you can't say he's guilty. But at least in this land, you can say he's innocent until proven guilty. But that just shows you what's the man's heart. People believe what they want to believe. All you got to do is put a picture of me up there and say, you know, he's wicked. And all the people that don't like me going to be like, yeah, I knew it. Because there's a picture of his face and somebody put wicked on it.
Envy you not the oppressor, and choose none of his ways. For the froward is abomination to Yahweh, but his secret is with the righteous. The curse of Yahweh is in the house of the wicked, but he blesses the habitation of the just.
His secret is with the righteous. Anybody got an idea what his secret is?
Would it be covenant?
That's good.
To reverence and fear him.
Mm-hmm. It's all covenant. What about you? Anything?
When you read this, what comes to mind to me is just the light, in the sense how certain people can maintain that light and still, go through whatever, but still be, come out unscathed in a sense.
Right. Man, bruh? What's your secret, bro? How you go through this, man? How you overcome that, man? We swore you was dead. What do you do? What's your secret? Oh, well, my confidence is in YAH. It's not in me. Oh, man. The secrets. His way. It's secret to them, because why am I giving you these things in parables? Because it was given unto you to understand and not them. And that's why, I talk in a lot of parables, because I purposely talking to people with the spirit. We got plenty of class where we breaking things down where you can understand. But sometimes you talk in a parable so that people with understanding can apply it better and say, oh, that makes sense.
It's funny to me because from my own personal experience, before I came into the word, there were certain people who I knew were into Christianity or into the Bible or something, but I saw that they had a certain light about them, and they just seemed to be able to manifest that light in a better sense than other people around them. I never knew what it was. I always stayed away from religion because I thought it was nonsense. You know what I'm saying? But I see that there was something to that. Reading this now, I see that there was a secret to be revealed, and obviously, religion kind of obscures the truth in a lot of ways. But now I see that intimation I had about these people. I see where it really comes from now. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, the confidence. Just because, I know every statistic about Steph Curry. I'm confident he gonna hit that shot. He gonna hit the game. And then somebody else that sees Steph Curry on TV all the time getting rewards and he can shoot real well. Both people got their confidence in him. But one person knows the stats and say, nah, he don't make them shots when he come off of this, or he don't work well, he need a screen to hit a good shot, or, they know they can be a little more accurate with it. But at the end of the day, you still gotta have confidence. You still gotta know that, okay, this bro can shoot, he good at what he do. So it's the same thing with the word. Now, the religious people, they don't really understand this word, or they wouldn't be religious. They would be more on the side of righteousness versus religious. Because to say, really, you want to be religious, pure religion is what? To visit
The sick,
the
widow,
right,
the fatherless.
all right, and to anoint them. So that's true religion. Go out there. You want to be a religious person, since you don't want to care about what's right or wrong, then be a Mother Teresa. Dedicate your life to helping people. And love covers a multitude of sins. And in that process, you are going to be doing so much righteousness, the Spirit going to be with you. And you're going to naturally gravitate and lean towards doing certain things. And you're going to naturally be around people that got the Spirit, because they're the ones that the Most High is dealing with.
Proverbs chapter 3 and verse 33. The curse of Yahweh is in the house of the wicked, but he blesses the habitation of the just. Surely he scorns the scorners, but he gives grace unto the lowly. The wise shall inherit glory, but shame shall be the promotion of fools.
All right, let's go to James chapter 4, Jacob chapter 4, which is towards the end of the New Testament. It's after Hebrews, I believe. Right after Hebrews, James chapter 4. So with this inner conflict, the secret of this inner conflict is the secret of Yah. Don't depend on yourself, brother. Stop thinking that you some good person, that you're just you're just a special guy. No, you're not. You just flesh. The only thing special about you is the spirit that he put in you. That's it. So once you understand that concept, you'll stop relying on yourself and start saying, you know what, these things that I thought I was relying on me with really ain't me I was relying on. I was relying on the word, because the word tells you to do this righteous stuff. James, Jacob, chapter 4. And we say Jacob because James is just the English of Jacobus, of the Greek Jacobus, of the Hebrew Jacob. So when it was King James, he was literally like King Jacob. And on his coins and his coinage, it literally says Jacobus, Jacob.
From whence come wars and fightings among you? Come they not hence, even of your lust that war in your members?
In your members. So where are these wars and fighting among you? So this is your people among you. Where is this fighting and war coming among your own people? And he say, are they not coming because of the lusts that war in your members? When it's talking about your members, it's talking about within your own body. It's not talking about because you have one member here and another member here and they're fighting. Yeah, they're fighting, but what's causing them to fight? It's the war going on in individuals. And it's all being driven by the lusts, pride, arrogancy, jealousy, envy, covetousness, all these different things, not wanting to wait on your gift, being jealous of another man's gift, being jealous of another man's wife, all these different things. It's lust. That's what the flesh does. When you flesh feels that way, don't be ashamed. Understand it. Oh, it's doing what it's supposed to do. That's what it's designed to do, to prioritize itself. Rebuke that spirit and say, I'm not going to listen to the flesh. The spirit, I trust the word. The word said, don't be that way. Now, the other person might not do that, and they coming at you. He can't fight himself. He got to fight with you. Go ahead.
if I can comment, something just stood out to me about the word members, which you just explained, which is referring to
Body parts.
Your body parts.
Mm-hmm.
And the word remember comes to me, so it's like, okay, what would remember mean? And it just makes me think about, obviously, remember means to come back to one in a sense, you know what I'm saying, or to put those members back into one.
Right.
And it made me think about remember YAH. And it's like, well, YAH is what puts everything back into one. You know what I'm saying? It kind of reminds me of just
That's deep.
having that.
Yeah, it's like you remember the command, remember the Sabbath day. Sabbath is being separated.
Right.
Remember it, bring it back to the body. Bring it back into your life. Don't allow it to be separate from you. Interesting, that's an action.
Right.
Interesting.
Verse 2. You lust and have not. You kill and desire to have and cannot obtain. You fight and war, yet you have not because you ask not. You ask and you receive not because you ask amiss, that you may consume it upon your lust.
So they say, anything you ask, asking you shall receive, right? First of all, you can't cherry pick that scripture because it says, if you abide in me, that which you ask for. To abide in him means just like if you're going to abide in the house of Yahshua, you're keeping the commandments or else you got to get out. So the abide in the Mashiach means you keeping his word. If you do that, you're not going to ask according to your lust. You're going to ask according to the body. Just like the body asks for things. When the body needs oxygen, it tells the mouth to open up and to breathe. It's not telling the toe to go tap dance because it just feel like dancing. It's telling you what the body needs. So it's asking for things that the body needs. You have an injury, send blood over there to create a makeshift splint to stop you from moving. And send the white blood cells to fight the infection and to cause pain so you don't touch it. It's asking for things that's going to benefit the body. So when you abide in the Mashiach, now you're going to ask for things that's going to benefit the body. Your prayer ain't so selfish no more. Where every prayer is, man, y'all, I wish that you could make me a lot of money. I wish I can get that new Camaro because it got 6.2 liters, hint, hint. You know what I'm saying? All that type of stuff. You start asking, man, I wish my people would open their eyes. I wish that I could be more of a servant. I wish I could stop, being a bad example. I wish that my people wouldn't suffer so. You start thinking about things. Like when you look at Psalms and David prayed, anytime he asked for something for himself, he had so that I can give you glory, so that I can help this person, so that I can serve my people, so I can do that. That's the secret. That's another secret of Yah. When you pray to Yah, pray towards him in a manner that's going to give him glory, that's going to benefit his. Go ahead.
James, Jacob, chapter 4 and verse 4. You adulterers and adulteresses, know you not that the friendship of the world is enmity with Elohim? Whosoever therefore will be a friend of the world is the enemy of Elohim.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
We're at James, Jacob, chapter 4,
Verse
4. You feeling all right today, Elvis? Praise God. I like that garment. It's sharp.
You adulterers and adulteresses, know you not that the friendship of the world is enmity with Elohim? Whosoever therefore will be a friend of the world is the enemy of Elohim.
Okay, because the world is going to do what feels good. It feels good, so let's just do it. It can't be wrong if it feels so good, so you're going to be friends with the world. They're going to lead you into doing all those things that just feels good. That's nice. That feels nice to the spirit. You can't make that your friend. You're going to hate one and love the other. Go ahead.
Do you think that the scripture says in vain, the spirit that dwells in us lusts to envy?
All right. So the flesh contains a spirit that loves to envy. That's what the flesh wants to do. So once you understand this inner conflict, this battle that's going on, now you know the playing field. Nothing worse than to walk into a place. Elder, you want a bigger Bible? We got some bigger print. Here, this study Bible. Oh, wow. No problem. understand there ain't nothing good about your flesh. Ain't nothing worse than walking into a battle. You don't even know what's going on. You walk in, bullets flying, punches being thrown. You're not prepared. But if you know there's a battle going on and you know what the war is, it's a gunfight, you know not to show up with a knife. Let me go get my ammo.
But he gives more grace, wherefore he says, Elohim resists the proud, but gives grace unto the humble. Submit yourselves therefore to Elohim, resist the devil, and he will flee from you.
That's another secret. We keep talking about the secrets of YAH, what we just read earlier. Resist the devil, and he will flee from you. He will flee from you. Who are you? What makes you think you so important that the devil gotta just stick next to you all this time to get you to fall? If anybody was gonna stick with, he fleed from Yahshua. If anybody could get to fall, if he could get him to fall, it's game over. So what makes you feel you so important to dedicate the rest of his time here to trying to get you to fall? He finna look for easy targets like dudes that hang out at clubs at 4 o'clock in the morning. They not trying to talk to the beauty queen. They looking for the wounded duck, the easy kill. So that's what the devil does. He's a coward. He look for the easy kill. He can't get you. All right, your friend gonna holler at me though. And he gonna reach to your friend and use your friend against you. So all you got to do with the adversary, the devil, is just hold out. Just resist them just a little bit longer. Think about atonement. Matter of fact, atonement is coming up. It's Thursday night begins atonement. So that means we need to be off Friday because we'll be fasting from Thursday night all the way until Friday at sundown, going into the Shabbat. When you fast, you swear you be so hungry. Then you get in your script, you start reading something, you start meditating, and you forgot you was hungry. You resisted it, and it goes away.
James chapter 4 and verse 8. Draw near to Elohim, and he will draw near to you. Cleanse your hands, you sinners, and purify your hearts, you double-minded. Be afflicted, and mourn, and weep. Let your laughter be turned to mourning, and your joy to heaviness. Humble yourselves in the sight of Yahweh, and he shall lift you up. Speak not evil one of another, brethren. He that speaks evil of his brother and judges his brother speaks evil of the law and judges the law. But if you judge the law, you are not a doer of the law, but a judge.
Right. And how many of us have not broken the law? How you going to speak evil of your brother when he's just doing the same thing that you've done? He's a sinner just like you're a sinner. But now you speaking evil of the law, the same law that's giving him mercy and grace, the same one that gave you mercy and grace. You're speaking up against that. Now that doesn't mean you can't say something. You want to rebuke the action. But don't sit here and judge the brother, because that's what the flesh will do. The flesh will try to make somebody a worse sinner than you to make you feel comfortable about your sin.
There is one lawgiver who is able to save and to destroy. Who are you that judge another? Go to now, you that say today or tomorrow, not what shall be on the morrow. For what is your life? It is even a vapor that appears for a little time and then vanishes away. For that you ought to say, if Yahweh will, we shall live and do this or that. But now you rejoice in your boastings. All such rejoicing is evil. Therefore to him that knows to do good and does it not, to him it is sin.
All right, so when it talks about rejoicing in your boasting, all such rejoicing is evil, because you're applying that it's you that's doing it, not the Spirit of the Most High, not Yah's will that is being done. You're saying it's your will. Nah, you give Yah the glory with everything. Man, if it's Yah's will, we're going to be able to do this, we're going to be able to do that. All right, let's move on. Go to Psalms, Tehillim, chapter 25. And again, the title of today's Shabbat sermon is The Inner Conflict. We have a lot of individuals, once we come into this walk, it's not necessarily because of the laws and statutes in the walk, but it's the fact that we all are suffering inner conflict. We are fighting amongst each other. Now, You know, you can even see this. You've seen this in real life. You see two people fighting, and then somebody else gets in the middle of it trying to break up the fight or whatever, or he's trying to, you know, get, and then he end up fighting. Because it's a conflict going on, and you in between the conflict. So chances are you're going to get caught up in that. Doesn't mean every time, but that happens. So this happens with us as individuals when we're in a conflict inside of us, and we trying to be, you know, not the person we used to be, and now we add another party into it, another brother, or we add a wife, or a partner in a business or whatever. Y'all are conflicting already inside. So the best way to deal with that is if this one person is being confrontational and you're not confrontational, you're in a better condition to deal with that than if you're confrontational and he's confrontational. It's just going to be a confrontation. Tehillim, Psalms, chapter 25. So us as husbands with wives, Tehillim 25. With us as husbands with wives, we got to be that calm one. We got to be one that's in control.
Unto you, O Yahweh, do I lift up my soul. O my Elohim, I trust in you. Let me not be ashamed. Let not my enemies triumph over me. Yea, let none that wait on you be ashamed. Let them be ashamed which transgress without a cause.
All right, so let none that wait on you be ashamed. A lot of times when we have all this conflict going on and we don't know which direction to go. We don't know to go left, we don't know to go right, and you can't clearly see what Yah wants you to do. If you don't have to make a decision, if you don't have to move right now, then wait on Yah. He's going to show you something. He's going to give you some information you didn't have before. He's going to show his will in your life because his will is going to be done. And you won't be ashamed in doing that. But a lot of times, you know, we feel like we got to move on something right away. We got to make a decision right away. And that's a trick of the adversary, the devil. A salesman is going to want to rush you to make a decision. Oh, you got to buy that car right now. You got to get it right now. I ain't going to be here tomorrow. So that you're not thinking. But when you wait for a second and remain and wait for information to come in, let me see some more data, then you can make a right decision.
Show me your ways, O Yahweh. Teach me your paths. Lead me in your truth and teach me. For you are the Elohim of my salvation. On you do I wait all the day. Remember, O Yahweh, your tender mercies and your loving kindness, for they have been ever of old. Remember not the sins of my youth, nor my transgressions. According to your mercy, remember you me for your goodness' sake, O Yahweh.
Now, we can't be telling him to not remember the sins of our youth if we're still doing the sins of our youth. You should have certain sins that you did when you were young, that when you become old, you're not falling in that same trap. Go ahead.
Good and upright is Yahweh, therefore will he teach sinners in the way. The meek will he guide in judgment, and the meek will he teach his way.
The meek, the humble, the poor. I think that's all in the same definition. That's who he's going to guide in judgment. He's going to guide into making the right decisions, and he's going to teach his way. More than learning the commandments, you have to learn Yah's way. Because the commandment is just a guide. It's just the commandment is just a lamp. But the law is the light. You can't go and see nothing in the dark with just a lamp. You need the light. So you want to learn Yah's ways. How does he do things? What does he like? What does he not like? So that when you have a situation where you can go either direction. The commandment says do this, but I think it's good to do that. If you understand Yah's way, then you know, okay, he's going to take priority over doing righteousness than to just say I did something. And it's easy not to help the person, but I can rest on saying a commandment says not do this. Yah's not going to be mocked. Go ahead.
All the people of Yahweh are mercy and truth unto such as keep his covenant and his testimonies. For your name's sake, O Yahweh, pardon my iniquity, for it is great. What man is he that fears Yahweh? Him shall he teach in the way that he shall choose. His soul shall dwell at ease, and his seed shall inherit the earth. The secret of Yahweh is with them that fear him, and he will show them his covenant.
So that's the second time. The secret of Yah is with them that fear him, that Yarah him, and he will show them his covenant. So if you fear or respect, it's not a dread, it's a respect. Like, my father has been so good to me. He's been so merciful to me. He takes care of me. He shows me things. He gives me talent. He gives me spirit. And I don't want for him to look at me in a negative way because he's been so good to me when I didn't deserve it. He's going to show you his secrets. Oh, son, you want to please me? You want to do righteousness? Well, here's how you do it. He's going to give that to you. That's why when you talk to people and they have no understanding of this word, they don't fear the Most High. Obviously, they don't fear the Most High because how you just dumb as an ox and don't understand basic precepts? Because you can talk to a Christian that don't necessarily understand this word, but they have a little bit of fear of the Most High, and they're going to understand certain things just out of the respect, just like you said, with somebody that really has that love of the Most High, how you can see that they have a trust in him that's different than an average person that doesn't believe.
Psalms chapter 25 and verse 15. My eyes are ever toward Yahweh, for he shall come to me, and have mercy upon me, for I am desolate and afflicted. The troubles of my heart are enlarged. Oh, bring you me out of my distresses. Look upon my affliction and my pain, and forgive all my sins. Consider my enemies, for they are many, and they hate me with cruel hatred. Oh, keep my soul and deliver me. Let me not be ashamed, for I put my trust in you. Let integrity and uprightness preserve me, for I will wait on you. Redeem Yasharal, O Elohim, out of all his trouble.
You see that example once again of David's prayer, how he's praying for more than just himself. He's not praying according to the lust of his flesh. Oh, yeah, please give me Bathsheba. I want that woman. No, he praying, listen, deliver your people, Israel. Keep my soul and deliver me. I trust in you. I wait on you. So he's praying for his nation, for his people. He's praying for the body of what the body needs rather than praying according to the lust of his flesh. All right. Let's go to Isaiah, YAH, chapter 30.
Isaiah, YAH, chapter 30.
All right, and in this chapter, it talks about how we like to put our confidence in man or another nation that has power. And how this applies to us is we thinking we're going to depend on America to save us. We're going to go to the polls and vote for a president that's going to change things and make our captivity not a captivity, when the system is just defunct from the beginning. We think that we're going to return to anybody or anything to save us from the wrath, the punishment that the Most High is dishing out to us because of our own actions and the actions of our fathers. It's vanity. Go ahead.
Isaiah, YAH, chapter 30 and verse 1. Woe to the rebellious children, says Yahweh, that take counsel, but not of me, and that cover with a covering, but not of my spirit, that they may add sin to sin, that walk to go down into Mizraim, Egypt, and have not asked at my mouth to strengthen themselves in the strength of Pharaoh, and to trust in the shadow of Egypt.
Well, anybody or any place, you're not going to consult the Most High. You're not moving on his instruction. You're moving on your own understanding that, look, the Babylonians or the Persians are destroying us. Well, let me go run to Egypt, a superpower, and they'll save me. Instead of considering, well, why is Yah allowing these nations to destroy us? Why are they coming against us? Go ahead.
Therefore shall the strength of Pharaoh be your shame, and the trust in the shadow of Mizraim your confusion. For his princes were at Zon, and his ambassadors came to Hanes. They were all ashamed of people that could not profit them, nor be a help nor profit, but a shame and also a reproach. The burden of the beasts of the south into the land of trouble and anguish, from whence come the young and old lion, the viper, and fiery flying serpent. They will carry their riches upon the shoulders of young donkeys, and their treasures upon the bunches of camels, to a people that shall not profit them. For the minstrel shall help in vain, and to no purpose. Therefore have I cried concerning this. Their strength is to sit still. Now go, write it before them in a table, and note it in a book, that it may be for a time to come forever and ever. That this is a rebellious people, lying children, children that will not hear the law of Yahweh, which say to the seers, see not, and to the prophets, prophesy not unto us right things. Speak unto us smooth things, prophesy deceits.
Well, this is exactly the same situation we're in now. Don't nobody want to hear what's going on in this 400 years and the prophecy and Jacob's trouble and the great trip. They want to hear that. They want to hear everything is good. Let's just get along and be great Hebrews and live in a nice community together. That's what people want to hear amongst our community. Then you go to the other communities, they just want to hear that prosperity doctrine. And they're showing you what they want to hear about where they put their money, where they spend their money, where they put their time and their effort. And they don't have to tell you, don't preach the truth. All they can do is ignore you when you preach the truth and don't support your projects that are truth-based. That's how they tell you that. Go ahead.
Get you out of the way, turn aside out of the path, cause the Holy One of Yasharal to cease from before us. Wherefore thus says the Holy One of Yasharal, because you despise this word and trust in oppression and perverseness and stay thereon. Therefore this iniquity shall be to you as a breach ready to fall, swelling out in a high wall, whose breaking comes suddenly at an instant.
So this wave of water or whatever that's coming to destroy you is going to be sudden, because you're not going to see it because you're in your blindness. But he says, because you despise the word. Now, he said Esau despised his inheritance. Why did y'all say Esau despised his inheritance? Remember? What did Esau do with his inheritance?
He sold it.
He traded it away for some pot of some lentils. Like it was nothing. That's how you despise. You don't have to necessarily walk up and say, oh, I hate inheritance. Oh, I hate this law. No, when you take it and you trade it away for something that's going to, satisfy your flesh for a few minutes. Plate of food.
It's interesting. Didn't the Most High say we sold ourselves into our bondage?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You think there's a correlation there?
Definitely. We did this. We despised his testimonies and his laws. And we despised it when we did not esteem it. When you're talking about an inheritance, a firstborn, a name, that's one of the most important things to a father to pass on to his child. It's his name, his character, his inheritance. Now you treat it like it's nothing. This is our inheritance. We inherited the saving word of God. We inherited that. That was given to us in our nation. Us alone. And we were supposed to divvy it out, give it out to the rest of the people. And we despised that by picking what everybody else is doing, what all the nations around us was doing. And they were getting away with it because they're not under that covenant. But then we try to do it, we getting beat down because we despising it.
Just wanted to say that verses 12 and 13 of Isaiah 30 could go along also with Proverbs 13 and 13 that says, whoso despises the word shall be destroyed, but he that fears the commandment shall be rewarded.
Ain't no better reward than life.
So Isaiah chapter 30 and verse 14. And he shall break it as the breaking of the potter's vessel that is broken in pieces. He shall not spare, so that there shall not be found in the bursting of it a sherd to take fire from the hearth, or to take water withal out of the pit. For thus says my sovereign Yahweh, the Holy One of Yasharal, in returning and rest shall you be saved, in quietness and confidence shall be your strength, and you would not.
Again, here's another secret. In returning and rest shall you be saved. Return to the and take rest. Peace on the Shabbat. Rest. And in quietness and confidence shall be your strength. And being still, quiet, not feeling like you got to address everything, got to take part in everything, but just have confidence in this word that, look, I may not know or understand everything to do right now, but I have faith that the Most High is going to show me what I need to do. Let me just act upon what I understand. Let me just be still and hear that still voice. Let me stop always trying to depend on my own thoughts and my own ways and my own circle. Let me allow for the Most High to feed me and show me and instruct me like a father does a son. But we would not. We want to go fix the problem. We want to go run to a solution instead of looking at the cause and the root of the problem. Which means often we got to actually look in the mirror. Go ahead.
Verse 16. But you said, no, for we will flee upon horses, therefore shall you flee. And we will ride upon the swift, therefore shall they pursue you swift. 1,000 shall flee at the rebuke of one, at the rebuke of 5 shall you flee, till you be left as a beacon upon the top of a mountain, and as an ensign on an hill. And therefore will Yahweh wait, that he may be gracious unto you, and therefore will he be exalted, that he may have mercy upon you. For Yahweh is an Elohim of judgment. Blessed are they that wait for him. For the people shall dwell in Zion and Jerusalem. You shall weep no more. He will be very gracious unto you at the voice of your cry. When he shall hear it, he will answer you. And though Yahweh give you the bread of adversity and the water of affliction, yet shall not your teachers be removed into a corner anymore, but your eyes shall you see. Your eyes shall see your teachers.
All right, so even though Yah has given us the bread of adversity and the water of affliction, again, he's chastening us for our mistakes. He said, yet shall not your teachers be removed into a corner anymore. If you wait on him, be quiet for him, then he will send you your teachers. It won't be in a little corner hidden away. So it'd be more plain to see, easier to find. And you're gonna have, and you're gonna actually be able to see them. It's not gonna be a hidden thing like it was in those times. Go ahead. And here's look at verse 21.
And your ears shall hear a word behind you saying, this is the way, walk you in it. When you turn to the right hand and when you turn to the left.
So now you're gonna have that direction. See, all of this is preparing us for this next phase, this wilderness journey. This next phase when we get out of here, because we're going to have to get out of here. It's not going to be the same as here, where we can depend on our instincts. Oh, I've been here before. I know this, I know that. Oh, I can trust this man. He knows this, he knows that. Nah, we going back to, again, what we read in Genesis 32. In Peniel, Penuel. The land where they saw, we call the face of Elohim, pineal gland, the face, the eye, the third eye. We going back to that type of thing where now we in the wilderness, and we talked about Jordan, how quiet it is, how desert, the wilderness is desert, by the way. If you look at wilderness, what that means in Hebrew, it's not saying a bunch of trees and everything. No, it's desert. When you're in that, you're going to need, you look at a desert, there's nothing but dirt every direction. How do you know which direction to go? You're going to need some instruction. Your confidence is in your quietness. You're waiting for instructions. You have faith in Yah because, man, in Babylon, I've been through places I should never even walked out. But yet still, Yah was with me. Now that's in the wilderness, and now you can listen to a still voice that's telling you, go right, go right. And then you go right, there it is, the oasis. There it is, the watering trough, an opportunity for you to live another day. Go ahead.
Verse 22. For the fowl also the covering of your graven images of silver, and the ornament of your molten images of gold. You shall cast them away as a menstruous cloth. You shall say unto it, Get thee hence.
You getting rid of those idols. And again, we physically going to get rid of a lot of those physical idols, but it's also talking about those idols that we set up in us. Those Babylonian, those pagan ways of doing things which are offensive to the Most High. That once we are on that wilderness journey and we're quiet and it's...
Give the rain of your seed, that you shall sow the ground withal, and bread of the increase of the earth, and it shall be fat and plenteous. In that day shall your cattle feed large pastures. The oxen likewise and the young donkeys that ear the ground shall eat clean provender, which has been winnowed with the shovel and with the fan. And there shall be upon every high mountain and upon every high hill rivers and streams of waters in the day of the great slaughter, when the towers fall. Moreover, the light of the moon shall be as the light of the sun, and the light of the sun shall be sevenfold, as the light of 7 days, in the day that Yahweh binds up the breach of his people and heals the stroke of their wound.
All right, we can stop right there. Let's go to Romans chapter 7. Romans chapter 7. And we'll go ahead and stop there.
Romans chapter 7 and verse 1. Know you not, brethren, for I speak to them that know not the law, that know the law, how that law has dominion over a man as long as he lives. For the woman which has a husband bound by law to her husband so long as he lives. But if the husband be dead, she is loose from the law of her husband. So then if, while her husband lives, she be married to another man, she shall be called an adulteress. But if her husband be dead, she is free from the law, so that she is no adulteress, though she be married to another man. Wherefore, my brethren, you also are become dead to the law by the body of Mashiach, that you should be married to another, even to him who was raised from the dead, that we should bring forth fruit unto Elohim. For when we were in the flesh, the motions of sins, which were by the law, did work in our members to bring forth fruit unto death. But now we are delivered from the law, that being dead wherein we were held, that we should serve in newness of the spirit, and not in the oldness of the letter.
So are we thinking that means that we're dead to the law? We don't have to keep the commandments? Is that what we're thinking?
No.
All right, continue reading. He's going to clarify this. But what people will do is they'll cherry pick scriptures. They'll pick certain lines. Go ahead.
What shall we say then? Is the law sin? Certainly not. Nay, I had not known sin but by the law, for I had not known lust, except the law had said, You shall not covet. But sin, taking occasion by the commandment, wrought in me all manner of concupiscence, for without the law sin was dead. For I was alive without the law once, but when the commandment came, sin revived and I died. And the commandment which was ordained to life, I found to be unto death.
All right, so before, and what this is talking about here, this is really focusing on the part of the law that was changed with the death of the Mashiach. What happened was when you committed a transgression according to Torah, blood had to be shed. An animal had to be sacrificed. Some say Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. The brothers say Shabbat Shalom. We're going to call them when they get off.
So that caused death. When you committed a sin, death came because you had to kill an animal, literally. Because the law of sin and death from the Garden of Eden said that when somebody sinned, blood had to be shed to atone for that sin. So when we were under that law, with Yahshua dying, this is why he's talking about freeing us from that law, because we're not under that law. We're being married to another. That's the bride of the Lamb that we're about to be married to. We're the bride. So because of the animal sacrifice, what we ended up doing is, instead of the commandment to be life, when we don't do something because we know that it's wrong, it became death. Because if we had a bunch of lambs, a bunch of sheep to give, then we'll just start saying, okay, I'm going to commit that transgression, but I got 10 sheep over here. So I got 9 more sins I can do before I'm down to my last one. Now the law became death unto us because now that's not covering us. That was mercy that he was giving us to allow the death to pass to an animal. And we were supposed to care about that animal. So that next time we thought about stealing or doing this, we'd say, think about that animal you killed. But once we became rich and increased, we had so many lambs and so many things. It didn't hurt us to lose a lamb. So we were lining up sin. The same thing with money, with tithes. Let me pay a bunch of money because I know I'm being wicked. But if I only had $10 left and I'm like, oh, well, I ain't going to have enough money to put in there, I make not to do that. So this is what he's talking about right here.
By sin taking occasion by the commandment wrought in me all manner of concupiscence, for without the law sin was dead. For I was alive without the law once, but when the commandment came, sin revived, and I died. And the commandment which was ordained to life I found to be unto death. For sin taking occasion by the commandment deceived me, and by it slew me. Wherefore the law is holy, and the commandment holy, and just, and good. Was then that which is good made death unto me? Certainly not. But sin, that it might appear sin, working death in me by that which is good, that sin by the commandment might become exceedingly sinful. For we know that the law is spiritual, but I am carnal, sold under sin. For that which I do, I allow not.
Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom.
For what I would, that I do not. But what I hate, that I do. If then I do that which I would not, I consent unto the law that it is good. Now then it is no more I that do it, but sin that dwells in me. For I know that in me, that is, in my flesh, dwells no good thing. For to will is present with me, but how to perform that which is good I find not.
This is what we talked about earlier right here in verse 18. For I know that in me, that is in my flesh, dwells no good thing. That's the war. That's the conflict. Our flesh just wants to do what feels good. That's it. That's what it's designed to do. It's designed to keep your heart beating. That's what it's designed to do. If it happens to be on the side of righteousness, cool. But it's not going to always happen that way. So this is what's happening amongst us. There's no good thing in us. And that's the first thing. That's one of the first lessons Elder Bimelech was teaching me about Elohim, about being made in that beast identity. We're made as beasts. A beast does whatever it wants to do until it's trained to do something different. So once we understand that concept, when we start to feel those emotions to do something that's not right, we're not going to fool ourselves and say, God know my heart. I'm a good person. If I'm doing it, it's not bad. Nah, if it's bad, it's bad. Know that in you is no good thing, and now turn back to your instructions and say, well, my instructions say I shouldn't do that. Let me put my trust in that instead of putting my trust in myself. Because we're very innovative. We'll find 100 different ways to justify what we're doing is wrong. Now, what you don't want to do is be to the point where you're in such delusion that you think that you're not going to do something wrong. No, you're going to do something wrong. Don't think that anybody who's preaching against doing something wrong is not doing wrong things. It just means that we have to be honest with ourselves, and we are in a real fight. It means you're going to get hit. You're going to have to learn how to defend yourself from those hits by saying, man, you know what? I just did wrong. I'm not going to justify it. I did wrong. YAH, please forgive me. I'm going to try harder. I'm not even going to sit here and play that game like what I'm doing is right. It's wrong. I just was weak. Tighten up. If you're weak, you exercise. You get stronger. That's what you need to do. Go ahead.
Romans chapter 7, verse 19. For the good that I would, I do not, but the evil which I would not, that I do. Now if I do that I would not, it is no more I that do it, but sin that dwells in me. I find in a law that when I would do good, evil is present.
Because you needed a law to tell you not to do that. Why? Because the body, there's no good thing. The body want to do what pleases it. There's no getting around that. But you might get by for a little bit because the path is clear, your alignment is good, but eventually you're going to run into something. So we have to understand that concept with the body. It's the same thing with the body. Go ahead.
For I delight in the law of Yahweh after the inward man, but I see another law in my members, warring against the law of my mind, and bringing me into captivity of the law of sin, which is in my members. O wretched man that I am, who shall deliver me from the body of this death? I thank Elohim through Yahshua Mashiach, our master. So then with the mind I myself serve the law of Elohim, but with the flesh the law of sin.
Always, this is how you get beyond just a commandment keeper. You serve Yah in your mind, which means I know the law says do this, says honor the Sabbath day, but my sister or my brother is on the side of the road and they're got a flat tire and I know I'm supposed to be resting, but no, I'm doing this for Yah. I'm going to help this person. Love your neighbor like yourself. If my daughter was on the side of the road and all of y'all passed her and didn't help her, I'm pissed with all of y'all. So how you think the Most High views us when we don't help one another? So you're serving the law in your mind. In your flesh, you may be going against the law because the law says you can't do this on the Sabbath, you can't work, you can't buy something. You might have to buy a fix-a-flat for the person's tire or whatever. That's transgressing the commandment. Yeah, in your flesh, you've sinned. But in your mind, you're serving Yah because you're focused on what is the right thing to do. The commandments is just a roadmap to get you there. You still got to follow the roadmap and actually drive there. So that's what I was trying to say here. This law can be a stumbling block for you if you're using it for the wrong reason. You can use the law to justify not doing something good. Well, the law says I can't touch blood. But this person bleeding to death. Help the person. No, I don't want to. You didn't want to get your garments blood. That's what's really on your mind. But you're saying, well, the law says we can't touch blood. Now the law became sin unto you. That's not what that law was for. That law was to keep you clean. Not to do the pagan practices that pagans do where they drink blood and paint blood on their face and do all kinds. That's what that law was for. Not to not help somebody. So these are the things that you have to learn in trying to keep the commandments. And I just wanted to read the first verse on chapter 8, and we're going to close out.
There's Romans chapter 8 and verse 1.
Read through chapter 2. Go through verse 4.
There is therefore now no condemnation to them which are in Mashiach Yahshua, who walk not after the flesh, but after the Spirit.
So there is no condemnation, no condemning to them that are in the Mashiach Yahshua. So I know we've read through all these things and we got all these classes and it's like, man, who can be righteous with all this stuff we got to do? But understand, there's no condemnation if you're in the body of the Mashiach. Because you're covered. He's the head. He's like a good husband. He's got you. All you got to do is be in the body. If you're in the body, which means you're trying to do this to the best of your ability. You're making corrections when you find you wrong, when you're admitting when you fall, doing all those type of things. There's no condemnation. You're going to make mistakes. And that's what I want people to understand. We don't teach this so that nobody don't make mistakes. You're going to make mistakes, but understand there's no condemnation in those mistakes. So seek to be perfect. Try to do the right thing. And when you fall short, understand there's no condemnation in Yahshua. He is our covering. He's our advocate. He knows in your heart that you were trying. Don't look at what somebody else is doing and look at an elder and say, well, I'm not on his level, so I'm not worthy. No, you're going to be judged based upon what you can do, what effort you put in. So that is one of the most important things that we have to understand, that there's no condemnation. Go ahead and try to keep the commandments. Try to do righteousness. You're going to fall short. But know when you fall short, he got you. Why? Go ahead. Verse 2.
For the law of the Spirit of life, in Mashiach Yahshua has made me free from the law of sin and death.
Okay. Did it say it made you free from the law, like you ain't got to keep commandments? No. It said made you free from the law of sin and death. The law of sin and death was instituted in the garden. That means when you sin, you die. And the grace that was passed on to us was that, okay, Instead of dying, I'll let you kill an animal when you do a transgression. That was the law of sin and death. We were freed from that in Christ with his death. Now we don't have to kill something and we don't have to die. There's a real perfect system. You are truly sorry for what you did when you understand what you did was wrong, and you try not to do it again to the best of your ability. And there's no condemnation. There's no punishment for that. If you're in the Mashiach, and in the Mashiach means you're in this word, you're in the body. So you get in this word to try to figure out the right thing to do. And when you make a mistake, you try to repent, restore, and not do it again. Go ahead.
For what the law could not do, in that it was weak through the flesh, Yahweh sending his own Son in the likeness of sinful flesh, sin, condemned sin in the flesh, that the righteousness of the law be fulfilled in us, who walk not after the flesh, but after the Spirit.
The righteousness of the law might be fulfilled in us. Our forefathers thought the righteousness was the letter of the law. Well, yeah, I know I just stole from my neighbor and I just, killed that man across the street, but I'm pure. Bro, you don't see them pure lambs I done did animal sacrifices on? I'm good. You, poor guy, are wicked because you haven't done a sacrifice for your sin that you did. We were stuck in that. Never understanding the righteousness of the law. Why should I not steal? We don't get to that level. We just know that if I steal, I got this punishment. So if I got the lambs or the animals put aside, who cares? You don't learn righteousness like that. With the Christ system, there is no loophole. You can't cheat somebody that knows your heart, that knows that you had no intent of being righteous. You were trying to be fleshly. Can't beat that system. So that's why there's no condemnation, because if you truly are saying, I want to be better, I want the truth, I want to do righteousness, but I'm weak in the flesh, he's going to empower us, and everywhere we fall short, and every man on this earth falls short, he got that. He the covering. He the covering at the top. So that's all we're going to do today. Any last questions or comments? Can you check the comments, see if we had any questions? We went over beginning of the class, Israel. What's an Israelite? So Israelite, just to paraphrase that for you again, 12 tribes of Israel. Jacob had 12 sons, and the descendants of those 12 sons are Israelites. It's a bloodline. Now, what's significant about that bloodline? The significance was all the way from Adam, all the way into Abraham, Isaac, then Jacob. There was a blessing, an inheritance, firstborn status passed down. And that was passed down all the way into Jacob, all the way into Moses, who came from Levi, who was Levi was the third son. Levi was the third son who had Moses, who the law was given unto him, and the covenant. The covenant is a promise. The Most High made a promise with a group of people, said, I'm going to let you represent me on this earth. And I'm going to teach you all my ways and my righteousness so that you can teach the world how to come closer unto me. And that's what was given to us. That was the job that was given to us. And that's what makes us an Israelite, is if you're a bloodline of those 12 tribes. Now, just because you're a bloodline Israel, don't make you the definition of Israel, which is power with God, or the upright of God. To do that, you have to be righteous. You got to follow Mashiach's ways, the Savior word of Yah. So somebody asks you, what's an Israelite? Is it a religion? Is it a group? It's a bloodline of people. It's a nationality of people. And we are the only people in the world that don't have the nationality, a nationality at all. Everybody else in the world got some kind of nationality, can go to their nation. We don't have it. Israelite, it was our nationality. Elder, anything you want to add on to that about what Israelites are?
Well, you gave a perfect example, but as well, those brothers and sisters who are not by blood a descendant of the 12 tribes, they can latch on to Israel as long as they believe in the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the same power believe in, and willing to, at the best, try to follow these laws, statutes, and commandments. You know what I'm saying? So we ain't just because we got blood. It's like a double-edged sword. You know, we're by blood, but we'll perish if we're doing the same things as the brothers and sisters who ain't by blood. But the ones who ain't by blood can come in if they believe on the power that we believe on, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and understand that we are his lineage, and they can graft on and be in as well. So we don't ever want it to seem as though it's just us. Because we'll burn in hell too, just like everybody else, if we ain't right.
Quicker.
Quicker.
Right.
You know, that's why we in affliction right now. That's why we catching hell and been catching it, and our forefathers have always caught it, because we're a rebellious nation. You know what I'm saying? We hard-headed. So
Right.
sure.
And to further build on Elder's great point, excellent point, is that it's Yah's ways that get you life. His ways, not your blood, because Yah is not a blood. He's not a human being. He's a spirit, an invisible spirit. But his ways, when you do his ways, which is law, statutes, and judgments that Elder was talking about, that is what grants you life. And anybody can do that. But where it pertains to us is we will be punished 7 times more for our transgressions against that law, because we made covenant. We got married to the Most High. We said all that you say we will do. Our forefathers said that. The other nations didn't do that. They didn't come, they weren't even presented with that. So that's why we get punished 7 times more for what we do. That's the difference. That's why, you know, trying to say, like, you got all these nations trying to claim that they Israel and they're clearly of other nations, that don't benefit you. Because it don't matter. You just putting yourself in a higher risk of being cut off, because you got to keep all these commandments. Versus a person of the nation, they have so much more leniency because it wasn't given into their father and passed on and passed on and passed on and passed on. That's another reason why they got the 1,000 years of the sabbatical kingdom. Because the nations got to have a chance too to try to walk in, because the law going to be back in effect. And when it's in effect and Israel is running things, them Gentiles not going to be able to just start walking in the law perfect. We couldn't. With thousands of years, we still struggling. So they had to have a fair chance to walk in the law and learn how to dwell in righteousness. Any other questions?
Someone has a question on YouTube who says, can someone please explain to me Mark 7 verses 18 through 19? I'm having a difficult time finding the true meaning of it.
All right, let's go to Mark. Mark is chapter 7 and 18 and 19. All right. Let's start at verse 17. He says, and when he, Yahshua, entered into the house from the people, his disciples asked him concerning the parable. All right, so let's see what parable this is talking about here.
Is it 17?
Okay, 14. It started 14. He said, and he had called all the people unto me. He said unto them, hearken unto me, every one of you, and understand. There is nothing from without a man that entering into him can defile. But the things which come out of him, those are they that defile a man. If any man have ears to hear, let him hear. So what you have to do with this one, what's the brother's name?
King Cam 3330.
Okay, so King Cam, what you got to understand, brothers, I just wanted to see what they're talking about, but really you need to go to the beginning of the chapter 7, and see what is this whole conversation about? What is they addressing? And if you go to the beginning of chapter 7, and you go to the end of the other chapter that they talk about the same thing in Matthew, he's going to verify what he's talking about. It says, then came together unto him the Pharisees and certain of the scribes which came from Jerusalem. And when they saw some of his disciples eat bread with defiled, that is to say, with unwashen hands, they found fault. So this is what this whole thing was talking about. Was talking about them eating bread without washing their hands. And what Yahshua said, look, man, first of all, that's a tradition of man. There ain't no law saying you got to wash your hand 3 times. the Pharisees and the Sanhedrin in the Talmud would have it where you got to wash your hands. They do all these, show everybody how clean they are and make all these outward displays, cleaning the cup several times. You see the Catholics still do that. They get up there and they take the cloth and he cleans the cup and do, except for cleaning the inside of the cup where he's supposed to be clean. So he was saying, look, that stuff don't make you unclean. All the things that come out of you, all your mouth, the way you treat people, that's what making you unclean. So he's saying you worried about washing your hands when you need to be worried about the things that are coming out of you. Then what you also want to look at, Cam, is who is he talking to? Is he talking to Gentiles or is he talking to Israel? He's talking to Pharisees and scribes. He's talking to his people. They don't eat unclean food. So not be talking about eating unclean food, or else he would have said that at the beginning. I'm talking about eating unclean food. He's talking about clearly them. It even says here, verse 9. He said unto them, full well you reject the commandment of Elohim that you may keep your own tradition. He's checking them for you, checking me about traditions. But these things you do are against the commandment. The way you're treating people and the way that you're transgressing these commandments. That's what he was addressing. He's not saying, and see what Christians will try to do in doctrine is say, oh, look, Christ said you can eat whatever you want. That's not the case. Because then you look at what Kiefer said. He said, look, I've never eaten nothing common or unclean when he had the vision of unclean food. Mm-hmm. He would just be eating pork at that point because Christ said, go ahead. Nah, he never did that. And if that's the case, why would he take the demons and put them in a pig and send the pigs off the cliff? Clean food is unclean food because YAH said it's unclean, period. And he was addressing in this parable right here is you thinking the things that you put because you got bread was sitting in a thing with some dust on it, whatever, you think that's going to make you unclean. Nah, all you're going to do is crap that out. What's going to make you unclean is all that wickedness in your heart that you're sending out. That's what makes you unclean. That's what defiles a man. Anything else? All right, hallelujah. If you have any other questions or comments, you can always post them on the videos or you can send an email and we'll get back to you. So that's all we're going to do today. Let's go ahead and close in the prayer. All the brothers remove their head coverings and all sisters. And again, pertaining to head coverings, when you're removing your head covering, you're removing anything that's covering the whole of your head. As long as the crown, like you see elders, head is exposed, that he doesn't have to remove anything. And again, this is us going according to tradition. That's not even the law pertaining to that. Elder Zahar, can you close us out in prayer, please?
Heavenly Father, the power of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, we come humbly to you on your Shabbat, Heavenly Father, as we enter into your high holy day season, Heavenly Father. Heavenly Father, we thank you, Heavenly Father, for all the blessings that you have laid upon us, Heavenly Father, for bringing us here today, Heavenly Father, in health and in sound mind, and to get wisdom, Heavenly Father, and understanding from thy word today, Heavenly Father. Heavenly Father, we thank you for sending your angels out before us, Heavenly Father. They may slay all spirits and demons against this work, Heavenly Father. Heavenly Father, we ask you on your Shabbat, Heavenly Father, that you continue to let your light so shine through us that others may see your power and your glory in these last days, Heavenly Father. So we humbly ask you, Heavenly Father, that you keep us safe, Heavenly Father, and allow your power to reach to the heaven. And allow your word, Heavenly Father, to permeate through our hearts, Heavenly Father, that all may see your power and your glory in these last days. In the Mashiach's name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name.
Hallowed be thy name.
Thy kingdom come.
Thy kingdom come.
Thy will be done.
Thy will be done.
On earth.
As
it is in heaven.
As it is in heaven.
Give us this day.
Give us this day.
Our daily bread.
Our daily bread.
Forgive us our debts.
Forgive us our debts.
As we forgive our debtors.
Forgive our debtors.
Lead us not.
Lead us not
into temptation.
But
deliver us from evil.
But deliver us from evil.
Thine is the kingdom.
Thy kingdom.
Power and the glory.
Power and the glory.
Forever.
Forever.
And ever. Amen.
Amen.
Hallelujah.
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 Yeah. Praise Yah.
All right. Good lesson, brother. Sir.